Welcome to the Reheat on the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel powered by InsideTexas.com. I'm Joe Cook, got RT Young, just over 2 months away, and there's a lot to be excited about for the upcoming season. RT, you wrote about 5. We'll get into that real quick, but make sure if you're here, you like this video, you subscribe to the channel, and of course, go ahead and turn notifications on so you can see anything big that pops up, whether it be one of our regular shows or some breaking recruiting news. So about 2 months away, RT, and we can talk about a lot of the same subjects over and over. It's kind of those dog days of summer, but it's time to start looking forward to the 2025 season and do it like a fan does. Optimism, hope springs eternal, right?
Yeah, we've got the last day of June here, and June is sort of the month where I typically, I didn't do this intentionally back in the day, but I feel like I put all of the cynicism or maybe all the bad feelings that are still out there from the last season or the state of college football. I sort of put them to bed. As July approaches, that's when you really can start imagining yourself in the bleachers at DKR and there on game day, and you start to just get excited about the college football season as a whole. And if that cycle didn't rinse and repeat itself every year, no matter the conditions, then Longhorn fans wouldn't have made it through the 2010s. So thankfully we did, and we're here now, and there's a lot to be excited about going into this season.
Yeah, this is a fun time of year when you're talking about the team. Everything's going good, barring any injuries. Nothing's happened there yet. My freak out usually starts about 2 weeks before the season, where it's like, oh, I don't know if they're that good anymore. And then kickoff comes around and I'm like, yeah, they're winning 11 games. And I would do that every year in the 2010s almost. Maybe not 11 games, but I think more. But there were 5 things that you highlighted, big topics that you're really excited to see in the 2025 season. And Texas can get one of them out of the way during week 1.
Yeah, so revenge, obviously, over Ohio State, over Georgia, are the two teams that the Longhorns took 3 losses from last year, and they're going to Columbus, Ohio. First game of the season. Last time we had a big marquee matchup on the first game, not week 2 of the Longhorns season, were those Charlie Strong versus Notre Dame games back in the day. This time we can comfortably say that Texas really is back. This could be a preview of the national championship or a game that does have huge ramifications for how the national championship plays out. I think Texas has 2 of the top 10 best players in college football on their side of the ball going into the matchup, and Anthony Hill and Colin Simmons. I think Ohio State probably has 2 of the top 5 best players in college football in Jeremiah Smith and Caleb Downs. So it's going to be a huge matchup. Sark has done very well in these matchups in the past, going back to the Michigan game last year, and 2 very solid performances against Alabama. So this is the type of place where Sark thrives. But then we go to November 15th in another chance to get revenge in another game that's going to have huge SEC title and national championship ramifications, where the Longhorns go to Athens, Georgia, and hopefully Longhorn fans this time are going to be the ones leaving the stadium barking. But man, both of those losses, the SEC championship and the Cotton Bowl, are ones that, I continue to play out plays in my mind of things that went wrong in both of those games. And, you really would like to have both of them back. I'm looking forward to hopefully getting some revenge this year on both of those fan bases and teams.
I'm really curious what the environment, just the feeling is going to be like in Columbus, because Texas is going to want to be, they always try to make it so their primary motivation is winning the game. But they're going to want to go in there, and there are some players on that team who are going to be very, very cognizant of the fact that Jack Sawyer was just running down the sideline the last time they were on the field. Meanwhile, I'm very curious what that looks like for Ohio State fans, because they're going to be unveiling a national championship banner. It's going to be 12 noon. Maybe that and some of the storylines we had throughout the offseason about game times and stuff like that gives them a little motivation. It's a 100,000 person crowd. They're always going to be motivated, but I wonder how hostile it is, just because they're going to be celebratory Meanwhile, Texas is going to try to ruin that one. And then Georgia, always a tough place to play. I don't think Kirby Smart's lost a true home game in a normal season, so not a 2020 game, since his first year. Sanford Stadium's a really difficult place to win football games in, not only because there are 90,000 people there, but also because the team's usually pretty damn good as well. So that's going to be something to really note. And I wonder if it'll kind of be like the Alabama game a couple of years ago, where does Alabama get up for Texas specifically? Maybe not, but do they get up for night games and home games because it's Alabama football? Yeah, they do. And does Georgia do the same thing? Yeah, I think so. It's going to be tough to walk out of both those places with wins, but revenge can be a pretty good motivating factor. Fourth thing, or number 4 on your list, was old rivals are making their way back to Austin. Texas got to go to Fayetteville last year, got to go to College Station. Those two teams, it's been over a decade since both of them last played at DKR, and they'll be making their way back to Austin for the first time in the month of November.
Yeah, I was at DKR the last time both of these teams played in Austin. Arkansas in 2008. Fellow McNeil Maverick, Aaron Williams, had a pick 6 as a true freshman in that game. Longhorns just trounced them. And then in 2010, unfortunately, he was at that game as well when Von Miller and the Aggies rolled into town and got the last win in Austin as a member of the Big 12 during that unfortunate 2010 season for Mac Brown and Garrett Gilbert and the Longhorns. So one of the reasons I put this, Joe, is because this is the bookend on a horrible, horrible home schedule for the Longhorns. 3 cupcakes in the melting heat of September, no home games in October. Obviously, we always have Red River to look forward to, but you really like coming home to DKR after a Red River victory. A lot of times, that's always, I think, one of the best home environments. And then you have Vanderbilt at the beginning of November. No disrespect to Diego Pavia. I can respect what he can do as a 39-year-old quarterback. But then finally you get some exciting opponents, at least from a logo standpoint and from a history standpoint in Arkansas. And then, that game with Texas A&M, them returning to Austin, that will be electric on Black Friday. So nice way to end the season, but man, what an awful home schedule for Longhorn fans and season ticket holders.
Yeah, you're not getting up for San Jose State, UTEP, and Sam Houston. It's just one of those things. That's why we want 9 SEC games, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just it screws the fans. Got to get to 9 SEC games. So these years where we're technically the home team against OU in Dallas, Texas just doesn't get screwed. And it also, when the marquee matchup is on the road like this, it's just no bueno for Longhorn fans in Austin. Luckily, the next couple years, 26 and 27, we'll have Ohio State coming back to Austin to open the season. In 27, we'll have Michigan coming down to repeat that home and home that started last year. But that'll be nice, at least, that even if the SEC doesn't go to 9 conference games, you'll get those big out-of-conference matchups and those big helmet matchups that college football aficionados like you and me dream of.
Before we keep on going, got to show some love to our sponsor. That is David McClellan.
I'm just going to say, guys, you probably need a fiduciary financial advisor. And I've got the guy for you. His name is David McClellan with Forum Financial. He works broadly and deeply with his clients as a financial life coach. And he should know something about coaching because he won several national championships as a swimmer for the University of Texas. He specializes in financial planning and has contributed numerous articles to Kiplinger on the topic of retirement tax bombs. So contact David today to be your fiduciary financial planner. and schedule a 1-hour consultation to assess your financial situations. The free consultation is available, so just give him a call. The number is 312-933-8823. That's 312-933-8823. His email is also in the description below.
Keep on going. Number 3, a couple players you've already mentioned. Number 1 featured Colin Simmons. The pass rush this year is going to be special, and it won't just be Simmons. It'll be what Anthony Hill can do, what Trey Moore can do, Ethan Burke, Lance Jackson. There's so many different names we could throw out there that's going to make watching Texas get after the quarterback be pretty special.
Yeah, I noted in the article that I don't think anything makes you feel as invincible as a fan as if your team is just constantly getting after the quarterback and just constantly bringing him down to the turf. We saw that in the late 2000s with those teams that had Sam Acho and Brian Arakpo and Sergio Kindle. But last year, I noted that one of the keys to the Longhorns season was getting to that 40 sack threshold as a team defense, and they got to 47. Obviously they played a few extra games, but I think they were at 39 before the SEC championship. So they definitely were a really strong unit, but now what can they build off of an amazing 2024? And you saw last week, third and Longhorn, Steve Sarkisian scoffed at the idea that Trey Moore, even though he's moved to linebacker, wouldn't rush the passer. So I think what they're just trying to do now is get all of these freaks on the field at the same time, get them all coming at the quarterback from different directions. I mean, last year we saw, I can't remember, did Anthony Hill end up the leader in sacks or did Colin Simmons? They were like a half a sack apart.
I think it was Hill and then Simmons, because Hill had like 16 tackles for loss or something like that too.
So you saw, Anthony Hill 7.5 or 8.5 sacks basically lead the team last year from a middle linebacker spot. But now you're going to be able to deploy that from multiple different looks. So I'm just excited that this is not just something that's exciting, or this is something like last year it was like, oh, what could this be for the future? Now this is the strength of the Longhorns' entire team, in my opinion. And we've got a lot of exciting edge players like Colton Vosick and Ethan Burke as well that are looking to have big 2025s. So, and then obviously some young pups coming up too. So biggest strength of the entire team. And I think it's going to have fans just going absolutely wild on Saturdays.
3rd and 8 is going to become extremely exciting, just to see those guys run onto the field and line up in all different spots. And it'll probably give us some opportunities to see someone like Justice Terry too. So this will be a lot of fun. Number 2, I think this one makes sense. I'm surprised it took this long. Arch Manning. Hey, we get to watch this guy play football in burnt orange.
Yeah, I'm curious what you think, Joe. So I said that this is the most hype that a season with a quarterback has delivered or has had with the oncoming of a season since 2005 with Vince Young. And someone commented that I just skipped past Colt McCoy. And obviously Quinn Ewers was a big deal as well. Sam Ehlinger coming off the Sugar Bowl win, that was a big deal. But no disrespect to any of those guys, and certainly no disrespect to Colt McCoy, those weren't as big of a deal on a national level as this Arch Manning conversation. Because even if you remember going into 2009, I think people were more excited about Sam Bradford and Tim Tebow than they were about Colt McCoy on a national level. And frankly, Longhorn fans had gotten a little spoiled because you'd had 5-6 years of really great quarterback play in Austin up until that point. So I think this incoming Arch season is just it's almost going to be like Kevin Durant, or it's going to be like Vince Young, just in the interest from a national level. So I'm curious if you think that I threw too much shade at those other quarterbacks there, or are you on the same page with me?
No, I see where you're coming from, because I'm trying to think back to my fandom. Like when you think about the 2004 season with Vince Young, you have the one loss to Oklahoma, but then, he's doing all these crazy things that Vince Young would do. He was also a number 1 overall prospect. And then, he's beating Michigan in a performance that I think a lot of fans may not remember because it was not as big a deal as the other Rose Bowl, but it's still one of the more legendary performances in college football history in on that stage. So that hype makes a lot of sense from '04 to '05, and coming in on Vince's junior year, the team around him, all the different parts, that makes sense. The thing is that Colt McCoy, that 2009 season, was coming off his 2008 season. And that's the one, where he's just finding Quan and finding Shipley. And, he's got, guys running out of the backfield, and just that Greg Davis offense that did so well that season, putting up points on just about everybody. But you're right. There was Sam Bradford who won the Heisman that year in '08. And then there was Tim Tebow. I may not have the dates right, but, Sam Bradford, Tim Tebow going into that season, those were two guys who, had one either played for or won a national championship. I think one of them won the Heisman, a lot of hype. I think Colt McCoy's season was still hyped up just because of what we knew about it and all we got to watch from that 2008 season. But nationally, yeah, there was still Tebow. There was still Bradford. Heck, I mean, even on the West Coast, one of those USC quarterbacks, may have been Barkley, may have been Sanchez. There were still some guys. Colt was not the number one with a bullet like Vince probably was in '05 and Arch is in 2025. I see exactly what you mean. Who knows if the level were the same, but as far as like other guys being ahead of him, Colt had that, whereas Arch and okay, people maybe want to squint and look at Cade Klubnik and Garrett Nussmeier and stuff like that, but for the most part, everybody's talking about Arch. So I don't think it's indefensible. I can see all sides of it, but I agree with you. It's hard to overcome people like Tebow and even Bradford heading into those years. And then number one, go ahead.
Yeah, and Arch would shy away from this, but and I don't think he would like that this is the case, but this is an area where obviously, if his name was Arch Smith, we always use that line, and he had still come in those three games last year and performed really well and still been a 5-star recruit and the number one quarterback in his class. Texas fans would certainly be excited about him. And I think you'd have hype from like a SEC level of like, oh, what can this guy do? But the name certainly boosts it to that next level. But make no mistake, a lot of this is coming from who Arch is as a player, the excitement within the program, from Steve Sarkisian himself, but also what fans saw with their own eyes. And, I think fans are sometimes a lot smarter than we give them credit for. And we saw what he could do last year, and he gets to build on top of that now.
Last one for you. You're a fan. You're sentimental a little bit as well. But going to these games, even if the slate is a little bit lighter than usual, hey, they're always a lot of fun. And this is the opportunity to create some lasting memories. And for us this year, heading into talking about this Texas team, could be some memories associated with a possible national champion.
Yeah, so 20 years to the season from the last time Texas hoisted the trophy or wore the crown ahead of all of college football. I was sophomore in high school at the time here in Austin. I remember where I was when Vince Young connected with Linus Swede against Ohio State. I remember where I watched the comeback on the road against Stillwater. I remember my house being divided over the game against Dwayne Slay in Texas Tech, them coming to town and that being a top 10 matchup where Vince Young just absolutely rolled through the Red Raider defense. Obviously, remember the Big 12 championship and remember every single detail of where I was, who I was with, the aftermath celebration of the Longhorns winning the '05 national championship. And obviously a lot is setting up for this season to be special too. And I think there's no reason to shy away from that. I think as a fan, you embrace it. I think Longhorn fans have hopefully gained a little bit more wisdom, I would say, in the last 15 years. I think you sort of, I now make no mistake. I think I know what a championship caliber team looks like because I've talked myself into plenty that weren't championship caliber, even on a conference championship level. But I think now what a team needs. They need the right coaches with the right continuity, and they need NFL players at the key positions. And then they also need experience, and Texas has all three of those things. So I think it's going to be a special year. Obviously, can't affect where the ball bounces in the last couple games of the season. But hey, that's why we get excited, but because it is all a great mystery. But yeah, if it is going to be one of those special seasons that all Longhorn fans, it's going to be one that they remember, for the rest of their lives, and who they took it in with.
Before we keep going, got to show some love to our other sponsor, that is Laura Baker.
Hi, I want to tell you about Laura Baker. If you're looking for a new home in the 512, or even at this point, let's face it, 737 area code, there's only one number to call. That's Laura Baker at 512-784-0505. As a member of the elite Andy Allen team with Keller Williams, Laura has helped Longhorns find the home of their dreams in Central Texas. Just ask our resident sex symbol, Ian Boyd, who moved all the way from Michigan to Texas with Laura's help. Laura can help you find what you're looking for in the 512, the 737, or even parts of the 254 and the 210. Just, give her a call at 512-784-0505. Her email is in the description, as well as the rest of her contact details. She's a friend. Give her a call.
Last but not least, Schadenfreude of the week, and we're going to look at the Pac-12. There may have been people who said Austin was a Pac-12 market, and people laughed at them. But now we know that DeLoss Dodds was a visionary. Austin was a Pac-12 market. The Pac-12 does look a little bit different, but it's going to include some, I guess, what are they? Maroon and gold, the Texas State Bobcats. They'll be headed to the Pac-12 in a couple of years. And honestly, I think it's a pretty darn smart move for Texas State and their athletic department.
Yeah, I think it's a great move to Texas State. I think it is, obviously I have a lot of sympathy for Washington State and Oregon State fans. I think it is an absolute shame that they get left out of the now Power 4 conversation, while teams like Rutgers get a free pass, essentially. Sorry, Rutgers. Spurs just drafted my guy Dylan Harper. So no disrespect there. But, at the same time, it is a little funny that at one time the Pac-12 conference had Texas and Oklahoma State and Texas Tech, on the hook. They had the hook in the fish's mouth, and it slipped off the line. So now they are settling for Texas State, that I believe, when did Texas State go D1? About 15 years ago?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, because I remember when they were making a run in the FCS playoffs or FBS playoffs back in the day. So it hasn't been too long that they've been a D1 program. So this is a great move for them. Obviously, they've got a good coach down there and a Jeff Traylor disciple.
GJ Kinney.
GJ Kinney. That
hard,
G and the J, they're always so hard to say together. So it's a great move for them. But just when you look at the conference logo with all the teams together, to see what it's become versus what it could have been, had maybe some hubris not got in the way. It is a little bit funny to poke at.
Yeah, by no means I think is anybody saying that the Pac-12 is back to power conference status, but it's good for Texas State. I think it's an elevation over the Sun Belt compared to especially when you look at some of the programs that the Pac-12 will have. And if you're Texas State, you didn't really have much of allegiance to the Sun Belt. I don't even think there was another Sun Belt team in the state of Texas. So your natural rivals, I think technically it's like SFA and Sam Houston State, and then UTSA, those three teams. Nothing's going to prevent you from playing those schools, two of those schools, UTSA, if you want to. And you get to probably expose yourself to a little bit bigger national following by joining the Pac-12. So, and it's probably pretty good for other sports too.
Fun little baseball conference there now with Texas State baseball, being on the rise in the last decade or so. And Oregon State is always baseball powerhouse. It made it to Omaha this past year. So yeah, that'll be entertaining. I need to familiarize myself with the baseball acumen of the rest of the now Pac-12. But that'll at least be a fun rivalry, and could see those teams in Omaha more often than not.
I think Fresno State's in there, and they've won a national championship this century. I think 2 maybe. So, yeah, good athletic conference. And maybe one day we'll see Texas, welcome their I-35 neighbors up. They're not on the schedule, I think, for a good while. I think that'd be a game I think worth seeing. They're already they're bringing UTSA. I know that. Oh, hold on. I'm seeing if I can beat you. Future schedules on FBS schedule.
Yeah. One of my favorite websites.
I think they may be on there.
2026, I want to say. Yes, 2026, the first game.
There we go.
September 5th, 2026.
So, all right.
Yeah.
So Texas will be playing a Pac-12 team.
That'll be the Texas crowd they'll need to show up for that one, because you've seen how those Bobcat fans like to show up at the Dish. Though I will say, a few times, I think it was one of the David Pierce years, one of the first time they did that Tuesday night game against the Bobcats. I turned around to this obnoxious Texas State fan and I was like, dude, don't you normally sit in those seats? And he said, yeah, I'm a Texas fan. I went to Texas State, so I'm wearing Texas State colors tonight. And, I thought we'd have no chance at winning. So I just, wanted to go for my alma mater. But I have season tickets, so that was pretty funny. So I'm not sure how many of those there are, but I would venture to say a good bit. I certainly have some Bobcat fans in my life that root for both teams.
Could be exciting to see what happens down I-35, but we'll talk a lot more about Texas football, Texas recruiting here. So make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and of course, head to InsideTexas.com. Big week for recruiting. We'll have it all covered there. So RT, thank you so much. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time on the Reheat, the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel powered by InsideTexas.com.